Good morning. Happy Tuesday. I wanted to clear up a few misconceptions that apparently my last video caused. And I tried to be clear about it, but you're never as clear as you think you are, right? So, number one, I want to be very clear that I'm not saying that the rule, that the library's policy was constitutional. I'm not saying that at all. I have made no statement to that effect. My only statement was that my only point of that previous video was that I believe that Jeff Gray's analysis was lacking. I believe that he was using the wrong analysis for that particular forum. I believe he was using the public forum analysis and or the designated forum analysis, and not the limited forum analysis / non-public forum analysis. So I'm not saying the policy was constitutional, because you have to remember the policy has to be reasonable. And if you look at Kokinda, the reason why the policy against or the rule, I don't know exactly what you want to call it, the regulation, I think technically is the term. The reason why the regulation in Kokinda, the post office regulation against solicitation, was reasonable is because the post office presented evidence that it took a lot of time and effort by post office employees to manage solicitation. And so it detracted from the post office's mission of providing efficient mail service. Whether or not you think the post office provides efficient mail service is irrelevant to this discussion, but that's the argument that they made. And it doesn't have to be the regulation doesn't have to be the most narrowly tailored. It just has to be reasonable. And the court said, well, it's reasonable. So fine. In the International Society for Krishna Consciousness versus Lee, the Supreme Court again was looking at the reasonableness of it, and they were saying that handing out pamphlets and soliciting causes people to stop, and that particular airport is all about getting people through there as fast and efficient as possible. And if you're doing something that makes people stop to interact with you, then it's reasonable for the airport to not allow that particular activity, right? Now, that's great for those two places. Those two places prove that their policy was reasonable. Now, if we go back to the public library, is their policy reasonable, especially as it relates to, for example, the parking lot? Is it reasonable for them to have a policy prohibiting panhandling in the parking lot? Maybe, maybe not. I'm not a judge. I'm a first-year family law attorney, so my opinion is worth just as much as yours, and not a bit more. So that's number one. Is that I'm not saying that he was wrong to be pushing the boundaries on that, because the policy may or may not be constitutional, and he has every right to push on it. The next thing is, people are wondering if I was being sarcastic when I said that Jeff Gray is my favorite author. Yes, he is my favorite author. Those of you new to my channel may not be aware of this, but I have done audits, and I believe in our rights as Americans to protest and to express ourselves and to film in public. And I like the way Jeff Gray does it, and I like the way he does it for several reasons. The first and probably major reason that I like him is because he's not an a-hole about what he's doing. He has lost it a couple times, you big dummy, I think he called people. But anyway, but generally speaking, he's respectful. He's polite. He doesn't get in anybody's face. He picks a spot, he stands at it, and he does his thing. And you could approach him or you could not approach him, and that's your choice. And I like that. He's not going up to people, getting in their faces. He's not being a dick. I look at these things kind of like, if I was an attorney, would I like to represent this guy? Would I like to be presenting his case to a jury? And a jury is going to notice if you're being a dick. Now, that's probably the reason why most people who are in this community who do get in scrapes and get to file lawsuits generally tend to settle it and not take it to jury trial, because a jury's not going to like them. And as an attorney, that's what I'm thinking about. Will the jury like this guy, or will they not? And I think that juries will like him. So that's a big deal. Also, he's got a clean criminal record. As far as I know, he's never been convicted of anything criminal. Big bonus in my book. I'm not a huge fan of my rights being advocated for by people with sex crimes on their records. You know, I just don't like that. I would prefer to have my rights advocated for by someone whose criminal records reflects my own. Call me crazy. So that's to me a big deal. And one of the things that I think that Jeff does not get credit for, that he should get credit for, is he shows when the cops are cool. Cops aren't always a-holes. I mean, don't trust the cops. You know, never talk to the police if you can help it, and don't answer questions. But cops are sometimes cool. And we should recognize that. They're not always bad. I mean, they get called out there on the call. They've got to come out. Okay, I've been dispatched here. Dude's not breaking any law. You're just being a Karen. Stop being a Karen. Just don't break the law. And bye-bye. And that's great. I like that. And the final reason why I like Jeff Gray is that he's got a job. He's got a real job. He's got an honest-to-God job. I think he's a truck driver, but he's not dependent on YouTube for making money, which impacts the way he does his audits. And I think it's because he has that freedom, that money coming in from his actual job, that he can be non-confrontational, that he can do things that aren't going to be the most exciting. You know, he doesn't have to scream at cops, you know, take his laptop out and use it to film the cops and then like swing the laptop at the cops. I've seen this stuff before. It's pretty disheartening. And Jeff doesn't do that. So all in all, I think that Jeff is by far the best auditor, at least that I am familiar with. So yes, I do like Jeff Gray, and I do watch his stuff. I'm subscribed to him, and I enjoy watching his stuff. I don't agree with him politically most of the time, but that's, you know, but I still can enjoy his work, and I still can enjoy the fact that he is, you know, if he's allowed to go out there and advocate for panhandling, or for homeless veterans, or panhandling isn't a crime or whatever, then that means that other people can go out and advocate for their particular political causes, their particular political pet peeves. So I do like Jeff Gray, and I support his work, and, you know, good job, Jeff. Now, that doesn't mean that Jeff is always right about the law. As I discussed in the video, I think he got the form analysis wrong. That doesn't mean that I'm right, by the way. I think he got it wrong. I'm just a first-year family law attorney, and I could be wrong. The case I used on Florida, establishing that public libraries, as far as Florida is concerned, are limited public forums, was a federal case, a federal district court case from 2022 from the state of Florida. I think it was the Northern District of Florida. I could be wrong. But that case has absolutely no weight. Well, I mean, it might be persuasive in Florida State Court, but Florida is not bound to follow that particular case. So if he sues someone in Florida State Court, the case that I cited, I mean, it may or may not have any weight. It's also just a district court case. So even in federal court in Florida, it might be persuasive but not precedent. So that's two things. Now, someone asked me why I didn't mention a particular Third Circuit Court of Appeals case. Well, because Jeff isn't in the Third Circuit, he's in the 11th Circuit, and a Third Circuit Court of Appeals case is only persuasive, not precedential, in the 11th Circuit. And also, it was mentioned, that case was mentioned in the case that I presented. One trick that I use as a lawyer, a neat trick, save you a little time, is you find the most recent case you can on a particular topic, and you look at the opinion on it, and the opinion will, generally speaking, go through a lot of the they'll go through a lot of the background for you. They'll go through a lot of the analysis. Like here's what the analysis says, and here are all the cases that we're relying on it. Does that mean that court got it right? No, it doesn't. But courts generally tend to speak and get it right. They've been briefed usually by both sides. They have a law clerk or two who've done some research, and you're not guaranteed to get the correct analysis, but it'll at least get you going in the right direction. Inspect what you expect and all that other fun stuff. But that's why I used the case I used. It was the most recent. It's going to have been updated to reflect the most recent Supreme Court decisions. It's going to be updated to reflect the most recent 11th Circuit decisions. And that's why I picked the way I picked. But that judge could have got it wrong. And I can't tell you whether he did or he didn't. Another judge in the 11th Circuit might come to a completely different decision. The 11th Circuit Court of Appeals, if that ever gets to them, might come to a completely different decision on whether or not a public library is a limited public forum. So just bear that in mind. I wasn't saying that I was right. I was saying that was my understanding. So I think I've rambled long enough. The takeaway, the long story short, is I actually do like Jeff. I think he's an excellent auditor. And he's the kind of guy I like to have out there auditing. I'm not saying that I'm right about my analysis of the forum, but I'm saying that, in my opinion, I'm probably right. I'm not saying that the policy of the library was constitutional. I haven't seen the policy of the library. The only point of that video was that I disagreed with Jeff's understanding that the content because it was content based, in my opinion, because of the forum analysis, that's irrelevant. And so thanks for watching. Have a great day.